So what are you going to need to mix your own salt water at home? Number one, you're going to need an aquarium safe and fish safe bucket that you've never used for anything other than your aquarium. Next, you're going to want some synthetic marine salt for aquarium use. We trust Instant Ocean. It's a great brand. It's used by professional aquarists and public aquariums all over the world. And you want to make sure you use a synthetic marine salt because table salt or any other kind of ionized salt is terribly dangerous for your fish, so never use it. Next, you're going to want a hydrometer or a refractometer. This hydrometer here is going to essentially tell you how much salt you've put in your water so you can make sure that it's at the perfect concentration for your aquarium. Next, you're going to want a way to mix that up. So you can use a net like this one to stir it in, or you can do it the lazy way, which is the way I do it, and use a power head like this MaxiJet 400 so it does all the stirring for you and speeds up the process a bit. Next, you're going to want to make sure you have a way to make your tap water safe for your fish. This stuff right here, this Seachem Prime Water Conditioner, that is going to do that for you. You add that following the instructions on the back to your bucket of water, and it will take all the nasties from that tap water and make them safe for your tank. And also a set of measuring cups for measuring out the salt from the box to the bucket is always a good idea. Again, best off to buy a set of measuring cups for your aquarium so you're not using stuff that's ever had soap on it previously. And last but not least, having a towel on hand is great. Make sure you have one before you start the process. That way, if you do spill water, you're not running around the house trying to find the towel that you don't mind using to clean up that water. First, we're going to bring in our bucket of fresh tap water, make sure our towel's ready, and next we're going to grab the water conditioner, make sure we're reading the instructions on the back so we dose it properly. We like to use Seachem Prime because it's a fantastic water conditioner for using tap water with saltwater aquariums. Measure out the exact amount we need and just get it in there. Next, you can use a net to stir, like this one right here. Or if you want to do things the quick and lazy way, like I like to do them, you can go ahead and grab that power head and get it set up inside the bucket and plugged into the wall. Now it's time to start adding the salt to our bucket of now safe tap water. We're going to use this half cup measure. Instant Ocean says half a cup of their salt will mix 1 gallon of water to roughly 1.022 specific gravity, which is where we're going to want it for our fish. And since we have a full 5-gallon bucket of water, we'll add 5 half cups of Instant Ocean salt. First, open the box. You'll see an inner bag. Just cut that open. Make sure you leave enough bag left that you can close it afterwards so the salt doesn't get all hard on you. And make sure your scoops are level. Now add the salt slowly, just like this, so that it's mixed in thoroughly and doesn't create any splashes. And again, since we're using a 5-gallon bucket, we'll use 5 half-cup measurements of salt. To fill a 20-gallon aquarium like ours, we'll need to do this process 4 times. Make sure you fold the bag over so the salt does not get exposed to air and dry out or harden up. And now we'll let the salt mix in the water for 10 to 20 minutes. When it's done, we can test the salinity with our hydrometer. It's really important to rinse out the hydrometer thoroughly before you use it. That way, any salt that's built up from the last time you used it that might be in there to throw off the reading is removed. Now that our hydrometer has been rinsed and is ready to use, we're going to grab it just at the top here, hold it completely vertical, and dip it into the water until the port on the side is completely submersed, just leaving the top exposed as it fills up with water. Once full, we're going to slowly lift it up, making sure it's vertical. And if there are any bubbles anywhere along the needle that are stuck to it, that could give you a false reading and tell you it's a lot higher than it is. So make sure you give it a few good taps just on the side of the bucket to shake off any of those bubbles. Next, we're going to take it to a level surface and check that reading. Looking at our hydrometer head on, you can see that we're right in the sweet spot. On this hydrometer, the red zone is exactly where you need your salinity to be for your aquarium inhabitants to be happy. It's really important that you are consistent. So if you've measured out to 1.024 like we have in this instance, make sure that every time you mix your salt water, you're at exactly 1.024. That way your inhabitants are getting a consistent environment where they can flourish. All right, now the water is exactly where it needs to be in terms of salinity. We're gonna leave the pump in it for now to circulate the water and keep it oxygenated, and we'll just keep the bucket off to the side for now. So before I actually fill this tank with salt water, I'm gonna wanna get my live rock decorations like plastic plants or any ornaments in there now so that I can get the tank looking the way I want it to look before I get soaking wet, because who wants to get wet if they don't have to? Nobody. And really, you shouldn't have your arms and stuff in your aquarium water if you can avoid it. So for this aquarium, I'm actually going to be using a little bit of live rock. I like to use live rock because it has some beneficial bacteria to help seed the system. It's also going to give you a little bit of microfauna, things like copepods, amphipods, maybe some macroalgae to help keep this environment as close to the natural environment as possible so our fish will be happy. Now it's time to get this tank decorated. But before we add anything, we want to make sure we rinse off all of the artificial decorations in tap water. Do not rinse off the live rock in tap water if you're using live rock, because then it won't be alive and that would be bad. With all the decorations in place, it's time to add our salt water. Whether you're using store-bought pre-mixed salt water or you've mixed it up yourself, make sure you add it to the aquarium slowly. You don't want to blow all your decorations and sand everywhere and cause undue cloudiness in the tank and mess up all the hard work you've just done. All right, now that our tank is full of water, we're just gonna go ahead and attach the inflow outflow pipe and heater to the back of the aquarium because those suction cups have a little bit of water, which will help them stick now. So we can start over on this side. Just make sure that when you're doing it, that you stay within the confines of our hood cutouts. And when you're doing this, it's good to just double check that heater temperature, make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. And then the next thing we're ready to do is go underneath the aquarium and get that filter primed and ready to start pumping. To prime this filter, simply push down on the large red priming button on the motor head a few times. Go back up to the aquarium and you should start seeing bubbles rising up from the outflow pipe. That means the filter is successfully filling with water. Now that we're back up top of the aquarium, we can see that the canister filter actually took quite a little bit of water to fill itself up to get ready to prime so we could plug it in. So that means we're gonna have to top that water back up, but luckily we still have some water left from our 20 gallons of premixed salt water that we used to fill the aquarium. So let's just go ahead now and use that to top up the tank. Perfect.